Huh.
Watching Kyle's unboxing videos again?
Yeah, he always finds the coolest... No way! A robot dog? Gotta ask where he got it.
Or use your Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra. Just draw a circle around the dog on your screen, and it shows you where to buy it right in the app.
Oh, I just learned a new trick. And that for once, I beat Kyle to the next big thing.
Circle it, find it with the new Galaxy S24 Ultra and circle the search with Google. Get yours now at Samsung.com. Internet connection required. Results may vary based on visuals.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Rival Recon here on Anfield Index Pro. I'm Harry Sethi. After a largely uneventful international break, though one that saw Andy Robertson injured again whilst playing for Scotland, our attention can now turn back to the business end of the season, with the title race now truly underway and a European trophy still up for grabs for Jurgen Klopp's Reds. After grabbing defeat from the jaws of victory against Manchester United before the break, Liverpool returned to Anfield to take on Brighton this Sunday in what could be a pivotal weekend in the title race, with City taking on Arsenal later that afternoon. Joining me on the pod this week to discuss how Brighton's season has unfolded to date, their European adventure, their now routine wins at Old Trafford, and how they've coped with losing both Alexis, MacAllister and Moises Caicedo this season, I'm delighted to welcome on Ady Packham from Radio Reverb and the Albion Roar Podcast.
Welcome back, Eddie. Good to speak with you.
Hello, how you doing?
Good. We're just before we hit record, both of us talking about each other's situations as it goes to the what was it we said? How fast were the winds are where you were?
We got 60-mile-an-hour winds. Yeah, I'm sat literally 70 meters away from a very angry sea, which is looking to encompass all that it encounters at the moment.
Yeah, my building's creaking at the moment. Always nice and reassuring as well. So yeah, starting the pod off, I think, in nice and safe territory. We're also talking about the fact that the international break having come to an end, club football returning this weekend. Just trying to remember when our teams last played and like some of the narratives, probably where our mood was at that point. And I want to ask you. I mean, like the last game Brighton played obviously was that 1-0 win in the second leg anyway against Roma, but because of the damage done the first leg away from home, saw Brighton exiting, or saw the European journey coming to an end, despite some heroics throughout it. And I just wanted to ask you sort of where, like, how you were feeling at that stage. I mean, of the season, comfortably, what 8th place in the league at the moment. There's been some real highs. Feels like there's been some inconsistency as well, which maybe at times people have been like weirdly frustrated by because you've just constantly overachieved. But yeah, I mean, what was your how are you feeling as we broke for the international break?
We didn't have a game in the FA Cup either. So yeah, that game against Roma at the Amex was the last time we kicked a ball in anger, which seems like a lifetime ago now. I mean, going into that game, well, actually, I was in Rome, and we had, as usual, it was like most away games, a brilliant timeout ruined by 90 minutes of football. But it was a little bit frustrating because it was a competition we thought we could go really deep into. Obviously, it's our first European adventure, the first time Brighton have ever played in any sort of European competition at all. And it was something we've all really, really, really enjoyed. And, there's that talk of, we hear of those brilliant European nights at Anfield. And we think, yeah, it's just a myth. It's just like media waffle. But you know what? It's actually true. I mean, we had those great European nights at the Amex, and and in Ajax and in Rome and in Marseille and in Athens. And it was, it's just absolutely wonderful to be part of. And I know that the Europa League gets short shrift in certain circles, but for teams like Brighton, it's a massive, massive achievement to be in it, and we want to be in it again. So yeah, I mean, the season, it's kind of been, I suppose, it's been first and foremost. When the fixtures came out in June for this season, we're like, yeah, but when are the European fixtures out? Because that I think most of our minds were focused pretty much on that. Now, obviously, I know the players have got a job to do on the pitch in the league and all the other cups as well. But there has been a lot of inconsistency. We've had a lot of players that have been drifting in and out of form. We've had a hell of a lot of injuries. So, I mean, beating Roma means that we beat everyone we played in Europe this season, despite going out of the competition. The performance in Rome was just, it was just terrible, really. I mean, it doesn't help that the officials didn't know the rules of the game. I was sat in the press box up at the Olympic Stadium with the great and the good of the game, the hive minds, if you like. And when that third goal went in, I go, yeah, that's offside. That's offside. And they showed you an image and they showed you the lines. Oh yeah, that's offside. What? They've given it? What? How? And no one could quite understand it. And I think the players felt that. And then the fourth went in very quickly. And clawing back a 3-goal deficit is a lot easier than a 4-goal deficit. But, going into that game against Rome, we felt we could do it. We've scored 4 or more quite a few times this season. And we thought anything was possible. But, we won the game, but it just wasn't to be. We're gutted, but we are gung-ho to get as many points on the board in these last 10 games and qualify again. We'll take Conference League. We're more than happy with Conference League. We'll take any European competition. We just want to be invited to the party again.
As you say, I think plenty look down on these competitions at times, and I think often deride it, especially when you're, I think anything online football discussion at the moment, and especially if you happen to frequent that platform, Twitter.
Yeah. Don't forget though, as well, Harry, the aesthetically, I would say that the Europa League or UEFA Cup, as I like to call it, because I'm that old, is probably the best looking trophy in football.
It is a nice one. Yeah. I think maybe it was some sort of animosity towards the theme tune or whatever, like the theme song. But
I'm more. I'd love to hear it again. I'd love to hear that theme tune again. It's a stirring anthem.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that. Yeah. Again, I think I saw something that came out during the international break was some sort of poll conducted by some sort of team of researchers that proved that some group of people had voted Anfield is the best atmosphere or whatever, and it doesn't matter. It's really very much not a competition, but could completely echo you on those European nights. There's just nothing like it. I think especially if you're lucky enough to go on those journeys with your mates and travel around.
That was just absolutely one of those surreal things. I mean, it's the first time I'd been to Rome, and you're hanging out at the Trevor Brooking Fountain, and you're turning the street into the Spanish Steps, and you say, "Oh, Marcus, how you doing? Oh, all right, Dave, Steve, how are you?" And everybody, everywhere you go, it was just insane. It was just like it was so much fun. It was just a shame that the game went the way it did, and obviously there was a bit of trouble off the pitch as well,
of course.
Which was actually a friend of mine was involved in this, and actually we're hearing it wasn't actually football related, possibly. So
all right, okay, yeah. And I'd seen stuff around. So was it there always seems to be sort of stabbings or sort of discussions of violence around sort of away trips to Roma. I think that's partly one of the reasons why I'm not sure if it is, but UEFA worried about that possibility of a final, right, in Dublin. I think
Dublin's nice though.
Dublin's fine. I think they need to be more worried about exactly just making it safe for everybody and doing it in a sensible way, given what we've seen over the past few seasons. But you mentioned when the fixtures came out, straight away your heads turned to these European games and sort of what this journey was going to be like. And we'll talk a little bit about sort of how De Zerbi tackled that. But ahead of the season, what were your expectations? What do you think were the big challenges for the manager, like in terms of sort of what, developing the team, or sort of like what were the main areas that you wanted to see him be working on this season?
Well, that's a question. It depends on who you're talking to, really. The way that we see it is it's managing expectation. Obviously, I'm old enough to have actually seen us nearly go out of the league in 1997 and nearly go out of existence.
Has that been a genuine challenge, though, in terms of sort of actually people? I mean, like when you see such success and everything seemed to be so. I mean, an example of one of the most well-run clubs in the league, and showing what you can do when everybody's pulling in the same direction. Do you think it has been that challenge to sort of like manage expectations at times?
Absolutely, because I mean, like I said, for those of us that were in Hereford in 97, we've been there, got the T-shirt, helped save the club, got us back to Brighton, got us out of the 4th division, got us out of the 3rd division, got us as far as getting out of Withdean, getting to the Amex, but there is a school of thought amongst some of those, like, if you weren't there, you're not as big a fan as me. But that's a load of rubbish, because, it's not other people's fault when they were actually born. But, we've got a lot of, because of the success that we've had, because we've had a sustained period in the Premier League now, then you've actually got, there's no club that's got any divine right to any sort of success. And this is something which we preach on a regular basis, because there's certain clubs, particularly those in a certain part of London at the moment, who think they own the world.
And no idea who you're talking about.
No, I couldn't possibly. Of course not.
Did they once go on?
Yeah, there is an expectation, because we've achieved our highest ever league position, because we got a fair amount of money in free transfers in the summer, that people there, why aren't you spending it? Where's our striker? Well, we just paid 30 million from someone. We've never paid that amount of money for anyone before, but why aren't we spending this money? And it doesn't work that way. And the fact that people do see us as being a well-run club means that you don't necessarily, just because you've got the money and you're well above the line in terms of FFP. If the right player isn't available, you don't sign it. You don't just sign someone just for the sake of it. I mean, plenty of clubs do. And we're back to that club in London, aren't we? In West London. But it's just so frustrating. But so, I mean, obviously when the fixtures came out, when we were going into this season, we thought, okay, we achieved a lot last season. And I think last season was a bit of a weird one. It was truncated because obviously it has the World Cup in the middle of it. You had certain sides that were underperforming, Liverpool included, Spurs included. That club we keep talking about in West London, they're included in that. And so, and there were a lot of places up for grabs. Obviously Newcastle overperformed. I don't think we did overperform. I think we're somewhere around where we probably should be at the moment. But I think amongst our fan base, we wanted to push on. We wanted to be finishing further up the league. We saw that we've got one of the most highly rated managers and most sought after managers around at the moment. And we wanted to achieve the best we could. Realistically, we didn't replace Caicedo. We didn't replace MacAllister properly. We didn't need to sell Caicedo. That is the key. We didn't want to sell Alexis. But that's how you do a transfer. I mean, I'll tell you a story. One of the funniest things I've seen this season was it was after the Nottingham Forest game a couple of weeks ago, and there were a few of us. We were all gathered in I think it was the North Stand after the game, and they had the Liverpool Man City game on the telly. And there was a load of people gathered around watching it, all having a festive beverage or two. And there was, and we'd won. So that was always nice. And a certain Alexis MacAllister stood up to take a penalty for Liverpool. And the roar that went up in that stand when he put it away was probably bigger than it was when we scored during the game, because that's how Alexis is so well thought of here. And still, there's a way, if you're going to leave a football club, there's a way to do it. And Alexis has done it the right way. He's so loved here. And I mean, I don't know if you saw the images after the game at the Amex this season where Roberto De Zerbi
took him round,
went on the pitch and he put his arm around Alexis and he said, "No, applaud this guy too." And it was, that's been one of my moments of the season actually, because it's well known on Albion Roar circles just how much I loved Alexis, and it's unlikely that we're ever going to have a player win the World Cup whilst playing for the Albion ever again, and it is a special guy.
The delicious ice-cold taste of Dr. Pepper has a lasting effect on people. Lindsay from Sacramento said,
Pro tip, 40 degrees is the perfect temperature for an ice-cold Dr. Pepper.
Why is 40 degrees the perfect temperature for Dr. Pepper? We brought in Sue from Duluth, Minnesota to tell us.
Oh, yeah, I know a thing or two about cold. Oh, that right there is the perfect kind of ice-cold for Dr. Pepper. I'd share that with my friend Nancy. She likes Dr. Pepper, too, My coldest...
All right, that'll be all, Sue. Having a perfect temperature for your Dr. Pepper? It's a Pepper thing. Inspired by real fan posts.
Hello there. Have you ever found yourself getting ready to watch the Liverpool match? You've got your mates round, you've got your drinks, you've got your snacks. You're all set to go. It's going to be a good day. And then you find out, the game's not actually being broadcast in your region. There's the heartbreak. There's rage. There's despair. There's fury. You're upset. You're looking for a solution. Well, we've teamed up with NordVPN to bring you a game-changing solution. That's right. With NordVPN, you can switch your virtual location to a country where the game's on live. It's like having a global ticket to sports, TV shows, and movies from all around the world. And here's the best part. If you go to nordvpn.com/Anfield Index, you'll score the best discount on your NordVPN plan. Plus, our link gives you 4 extra months free on the 2-year plan. And that's what we call a winning streak. And if you're sitting there and you're thinking, what if it's not for me? What if I don't like it? What if I'm not getting the use of it? Don't worry about it. There's a 30-day money-back guarantee, so it's totally risk-free. I've been using NordVPN to catch all the Liverpool matches and TV shows that I'd normally miss out on. It's totally transformed both my weekends and my TV watching. And not only that, not only does it give me access to stuff from all around the world with the click of a button, it keeps all my data safe. It means that the miscreants, the ne'er-do-wells, what my grandmother would have called scallywags, who lurk on the internet to try and steal your information, can't get your information. NordVPN keeps it safe for you. So don't let geo-restrictions bench you this season. Visit nordvpn.com/Anfield Index and make sure that you're in the game, no matter when or where it's being played. Remember, it's not just sports, it's your all-access pass to binge-worthy TV shows and blockbuster movies from all around the globe. NordVPN literally unlocks the world for you and keeps you safe from the world. So don't miss out. Head over to nordvpn.com/Anfield Index and let the fun and games begin.
Yeah, I do remember when he was welcomed back actually to the club's grounds after he'd won the World Cup. It seems like a lot of people are now doing that whenever sort of anybody comes back and they won a tournament. But I thought it was a real show of just how how fondly he was thought of around the club in terms of how he's been since he joined Liverpool. I think just seems to be just a model professional, doesn't he? In terms of the way in which he conducts himself, how he speaks to the media, how he is on the pitch as well. So no, certainly that was what I was going to come on to talk to you about was you spoke about maybe what you wanted the manager to be working on this season, where one of the challenges of managing expectations and not signing this, I don't know, ludicrously expensive forward for the sake of it, like we do see other clubs do, as you mentioned. The loss of those players, as you talked about, I mean, I think whenever I've sort of seen people speaking about, Brighton don't look the same in midfield, and then they just leave it like that and don't say anything else, and you go, well, yeah, they lost two players, not only two players who had the individual talents that Caicedo and MacAllister did, but for me,
let's not be
the
about
partnership between them.
We lost the best defensive midfielder player on the planet, and a World Cup winner who was integral to the way that we play and the way that De Zerbi wanted to play.
But they complement each other so well. Those two players,
right? If Caicedo had done what he actually should have done, and rather than lining his agent's pocket and not actually thinking about football, then if he was at Anfield right now, everyone would be seeing what we saw last year, which was the best midfield possibly in Europe, maybe the world. It was absolutely outstanding, the work that those two do. And losing that, it's always going to leave a massive hole. We didn't think when we sold Alexis, we thought that was going to be it. We didn't need to sell Moises. We didn't want to sell Moises. But when bids of like over 100 million come in, we thought we'd have him for another year. The way that Brighton works in the transfer market is always the next cab off the rank, and they're normally at the club already. But we had to fast track our plans. We brought in Carlos Baleba, who will fulfill his potential. It's taken him a bit of time to get up to speed, but then it took Alexis time to get up to speed. It took Ady Packham time to get up to speed. It took Moises time to get up to speed. It's not necessarily always an instant success. But patience is key here with these guys. And, we're just hoping that, we've got enough in the tank to get ourselves over the line. We're not going down. That's the plus one. I mean, we still celebrate getting to the 40-point mark here. It's, safety first and then see what you can achieve. And we want, I don't think it's impossible that we will qualify for Europe again this year. We've got 30 points to play for. And you know what? We can be kingmakers as well. I mean, we appear on a lot of people's fixture lists and they don't want us to be there. We're playing you on Sunday. We've got Man City at home. We've got Arsenal at home. We can decide where the title is going.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, and I'm not that you could help me with it, but yeah, I think there's certainly asking for some favours against the North London side. I think, when you were speaking earlier on about London side, it wasn't immediately clear to me who you were chatting about, and then I should have just remembered, obviously about that side in West London, but the side of North London also pretty chirpy at the moment as well. So any assistance, any assistance at all?
Yeah, we got a couple of players there too. But
and also especially chirpy around the Caicedo saga as well. I remember Andy Naylor's a decent mate as well. Talking to him about all sorts of messages he was receiving around that type of the season when he wasn't just saying, "Oh yes, this player wants to." Just dreamed of going to Arsenal. But to talk about the other players who came in, you mentioned Baleba there. João Pedro obviously come in and sort of been, I think, a definite success story. Igor as the centre back, Verbruggen as a goalkeeper coming in to replace Sanchez. Dahoud, who's had sort of middling fortunes, I guess.
He's gone.
He's gone now. Yeah.
He played 8 games for us. That was his contribution.
That was his contribution.
And it ended with Acrimonia sending off. So
I didn't realise at the end of it. Okay. And James Milner, who Liverpool fans will be well aware of, and Ansu Fati, just to mention, obviously a starlet from Barcelona. I want to ask you about those other signings and if there's who for you has stood out this season in terms of sort of being a integral part of the team, who's really made their imprint on the team since they've arrived, and anybody you wanted to highlight from that group.
It's a difficult one really, because it's like the way that Brighton operates is there isn't really any star players. You're a sum of your parts.
Exactly.
And but I mean, obviously, João Pedro coming in and scoring. Well, he's on 19 goals for the season so far before he got injured, and it's one of those things. Players always get better when they're not playing, right? So the fact that he wasn't available for the 2 games against Roma when he's been such a talisman for us in Europe was such a massive thing. And you can say exactly the same about James Milner as well. There was a couple of occasions in that game in Rome where you felt that some of the players were getting a little bit overawed, and you just needed a little bit of nous, a little bit of experience out there on the pitch, which Milner would have given you. I was surprised Lallana didn't get on the pitch in Rome, actually, because when he did start the game, the Amex against Roma, and it was the old Adam Lallana that played, or rather the young Adam Lallana that played, because he rolled back the years in that game, and he was magnificent. He can't play 90 minutes anymore, unfortunately, but every now and then he puts in a performance and go, oh yeah, that's that player. So Milner he's not really done an awful lot for us. It was entertaining for Man City fans watching him up against Doku.
I was going to say there was this perverse few games where it seemed to be like De Zerbi was like, who can I put on to deal with this incredibly fast, tricky winger? Not just Doku. I think there were a couple other games as well where I saw Milner selected and I was like, okay, right. It's going to be...
I think the issue there is not so much Milner, but Adingra.
Okay.
And because basically you need your forward players to track back and provide cover so that they can actually show them outside. Mm-hmm. When you're up against in a foot race against one of the fastest players in the world, then
doesn't matter who you are,
not going to win, right? Yeah. I mean, it's like I'd like to see who would win in the race between Milner and Pascal Gross, actually, because when they start running, you expect the Baywatch music to start running because it's like so much. Yeah. It's but
could be a pre-season test. I know Milner was obviously always the one that's a lot was made of his lactate test or whatever in terms of when he do those laps around the pitch. Maybe just a straight sprint between him and Gross. Pascal Gross,
but he's an old head. He's a player that we could certainly have used in those Rome games for sure. But yeah, and so the others are Eagles. They've been okay. Dahoud, bit lightweight, never really showed what he was capable of. I think that something was happened behind the scenes, which meant he was not. He was shipped out quite quickly. We saw exactly the same thing happen with Leandro Trossard, where he just fell out with De Zerbi, and all of a sudden he wasn't in the team anymore, and he threw his toys out of the pram. But Leo's a great player, and we'd still love to have him. But yeah, it was. No one player is bigger than any club, right? So it sometimes when players start to believe their own hype, that can actually happen a little bit. So yeah, I mean, the recruitment wasn't necessarily the greatest, I would say, in the summer. There were certainly some bases that needed to be covered. Midfield was certainly one of them. Like as we previously said, losing Moises and Alexis was always going to leave a massive hole, and it took a while for us to actually realise that we hadn't replaced them, because we started like a train. We won the first 2 games like they were all for one. We were expecting the next one to be 4-all, in fact. So all for one for all. We actually lost to West Ham. We never lose to West Ham. That was terrible. In a game, and that West Ham game was was proper classic Brighton. We absolutely dominated possession, dominated the shots, and lost.
Discounted, yeah. They've had a few of those this season, actually, West Ham, where you come away from it thinking, well, it's just just immaculate counterattacks in games where they've been largely battered. I think I was looking at the fixture list and looking at the results, and there's plenty of real high points that I just wanted to ask you, really, if you were to pluck out 3 or 4 of the highlights of the season. I imagine the trip to Old Trafford to humble that lot must have been a lot of fun. But even
that shower,
the home win against Ajax feels like it's a historic result. And yeah, just wanted to ask you, what are those games where you look back on them and think, real high points of the season and
This
examples of De
season,
Zerbi's team playing the way in which he wants.
Yeah, I mean, this season it's been a bit of a weird one, really. I mean, that's twice in a row. We always win at Old Trafford now. That's it. It's so passé. But yeah, I mean, just looking at the results now, the winning at Wolves 4-1 on the second game of the season, that looks like a better result now than it did at the time.
Yeah.
We had Carew scoring one of the goals of the season, but again, a player that if we had him available for Rome would have caused more havoc. Obviously, it's all about the European games, I think, this season for us. They're the ones we're going to remember. And there was that particular moment against Marseille at home when it was 0-0 going into the last 5 minutes, looking like we were going to finish second in the group. And then Pedro steps up and scores a brilliant goal. And the whole atmosphere from then on inwards in the 86th minute, it was just such an electric moment that I think everyone's going to remember forever.
That's the goal when he runs into the stands, right?
That's right, yeah. And he took the goal. It was such a great finish as well. Winning in Ajax, that was a great one, regardless of what Ajax you're playing. Beating one of the great names in European football in their own stadium. That's always going to be a special occasion. And obviously, beating Palace. Finally putting a decent result. We've always had a decent performance. We haven't always won, but it's always been a decent performance. We dominated them for the last 8 games, probably, without really getting our just desserts on it. So to beat them 4-1,
satisfying,
and it could have been more against your big rivals. That was always special. But I mean, the season isn't dictated by those games. It's dictated by not beating Fulham at home when we should have done, not beating Sheffield United, not beating Everton. Where the games where you absolutely dominated, those are where you're dropping points. Not beating Sheffield United, it's those are the ones where you're absolutely dominating the game, you're dominating the chances, and yet you come away with dropping points. And they're the games where you qualify for Europe. Going to Man United and winning is always going to be good, but you've got to win the games you're expected to win as well. And we know where we're at. We're not like saying we're a massive club now because we've been in Europe. We know where we sit at the table, but we're ambitious and we want to achieve and we want to finish as high up the table as we possibly can. We want to qualify for Europe again, and we need to be more consistent. We've always been much more likely to beat Liverpool than we are to beat Sheffield United, although we did go to Bramall Lane and put 5 past them twice in a couple of weeks. So we scored. We have beaten them on a average of 10.
They 11, do seem to be
11-3 is the aggregate score against them this season. So that's not too bad.
No, I remember there being a similar aggregate scoreline if you look at the last 3 or 4 times Liverpool played Man United, actually. So that's why I was equally upset with how Liverpool exited for the international break, given to throw that game away at Old Trafford. But you mentioned there, Brighton is the sort of team that would more readily beat Liverpool than necessarily some of these other games this season where you think it's you need to be picking up points against the likes of Fulham, for example, and Wolves are obviously in good form at the moment as well. And I want to speak to you about those games because for me, last season, those Brighton games, actually since Brighton have come up, to be honest, and since certainly since the most aggressive football we've seen under De Zerbi, a real challenge to deal with, real challenge to play against. And last season, I thought it was really instructive. Certainly. Games against Brighton were really useful for highlighting exactly all the different areas that were wrong with Liverpool's team that needed to be addressed, to be honest. And to be outrun and outworked in that way for a Klopp Liverpool team, I think really did sort of showcase that some of those players were at the end of their time at the club. And I think that's largely what we've seen to the sort of the area of the pitch that was addressed in the summer with the midfield. And even the earlier game this season, you had those new players in. You're looking to go toe-to-toe again and actually do better than we did last time out. Did do better than we did last time out, but still was a bit of a struggle to deal with Brighton on the day. I'm expecting this game after the international break to be similarly challenging, even though it is away from home this time round. Just speak to me a little bit about those games last season, and not last season rather, but you can if you want to, but the game earlier this season, and what sort of match you're expecting against Liverpool, even though this one's going to be away from home this time.
Yeah, I mean, you're mentioning about how aggressive and stuff we were last season, and you have to take into consideration the personnel that we had available last season.
Sure.
And even though there's still Brighton players this season, they've just not been available when we've wanted them to be. So the fact that last year we had Alexis and we had Moises available as our base in midfield, but we also had an in-form and fit Karu Mitoma. We had Solly March available. It was these are massive players for us, and we've missed them. I mean, Solly's been out since the Man City game at the beginning of the season. Karu Mitoma's not necessarily. He's had second season syndrome a little bit. It looks like he's been carrying something for quite a while. From what I'm hearing, that he was playing more minutes than he actually should have been playing. But we didn't have the change. We didn't, because Solly wasn't available. Ansu wasn't ready. Adingra is great, but he's not Mitoma. Mitoma is arguably the best winger in the country when he's fit and on fire, because he's basically just completely and utterly unplayable. And he just causes so much chaos. And the fact that, and we've really missed that X factor. I mean, João Pedro's been giving us a little bit of X factor, but he's been missing for the last few weeks as well. Adingra is exciting. Obviously, he's just coming back. He's just won the Cup of Nations with Ivory Coast, which is delightful for him.
Hey guys, it's Eddie Gibbs from Anfield Index here. I hope you're enjoying this podcast, and I'm sorry to call time on the show before it ends. In the current climate, it's tougher than ever before to offer podcasts for free. At Anfield Index, we produce over 75 free shows every month, which I'm confident is unparalleled in the LFC sphere. Whilst we'd love to offer everything for free, the production costs now make this impossible. That said, we don't want to follow the model of other channels and lock all of our content behind a paywall. So what we've decided to do is to continue offering every show for free, but cut that offering to 30 minutes on our longer shows. So to get all of our shows in full and enjoy the best of everything we have to offer, we really hope you'll consider supporting the channel and signing up at AnfieldIndexPro.com. For about the price of 1 cup of coffee, you'll get every podcast in full with 0 ads. You'll also get access to our LFC VIP community, where you can enjoy live podcasts, engage with our podcasters, and chat with other Reds in real time. So that website again, AnfieldIndexPro.com. Join today.
Sports Social Podcast Network.